Let's get you analysis of where we are on the power front in South Africa. We can speak to Professor Sampson Mamphweli. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Always good to have you on the program. So, stage 6, highly possible. Is it a certainty, inevitable at this point?
Good afternoon to you and the viewers. The system is currently heavily constrained. I've looked at the numbers I can confirm what the Eskom CEO and COO have been saying. The strike came at the wrong time because it came at the time when the system was heavily constrained. We have about 14,000 megawatts. That's off due to a number of factors, including breakdowns. And then because of the strike, we now have an additional 3,600 megawatts. That's not available as well. And we've heard also that the strike is also preventing some of the Eskom employees and some of the contractors to gain access to some of these plants for maintenance and for repairs. So all that, coupled with the fact that as things stand, our electricity demand is quite high. It's hovering above 30,000 megawatts. So it necessitates load shedding to protect the system. Whether we'll move to stage 6 load shedding, it's still a question. It will depend on whether there are improvements in the system availability or not. Currently, the energy availability factor for Eskom coal power stations, it's sitting at between 60 and 63%. That's very, very low. Normally, it should be sitting at about 72%. So we can expect anything between now and then, and I cannot even rule out the possibility of a total blackout, because once we move into stage 6 and the strike is not ended and it continues, there are chances that we'll move to stage 8 and later total blackouts.
And what would stage 8 mean then for us?
Stage 8 would basically mean that we're going up to about 16 hours without electricity, nationwide. And that's quite heavy, both economic-wise as well as affecting the day-to-day running of various activities within the country. And that's very close to total blackouts, like I said. And once we get to total blackouts, it means that the integrity of the entire system would have been compromised, and bringing it back to life would then mean take a lot of effort from the Eskom side of things.
How much of this problem, though, realistically, in all honesty, is due to the strike, and how much of it is to do with pre-existing problems? Because these power stations, let's face it, weren't exactly the models of perfection as far as how much power they were able to pump out.
Yes, we know we've had these problems of breakdowns. Basically the energy availability factor for coal power stations started decreasing around 2011 all the way to 2015. It increased a little bit between 2017 and 2018, and then it continued on a decline. And Eskom has also confirmed that some of the challenges relate to the lack of maintenance or negligence. And they've mentioned power stations such as Tutuka, where there was quite a lot of negligence and a lot of corruption and other things happening there that led to the power station not being properly maintained. They actually indicated that it was in dire situation, and to add on to that, there are about 20 people who were suspended from that particular power station. About 2 people have been arrested. So in the briefing today, they went deep into the problem, and we've been saying these power stations are old, and at the same time they have not been properly maintained. If you take away Tutuka, Medupi and Kusile, and you look at the rest of the coal power stations, their average age is about 42 years, which then means that they should have either been properly maintained, or we should just simply do away with these power stations. And I'm sitting here looking and asking myself, do we really need to maintain this old fleet, or we need to bring in new generation capacity as quickly as possible and do away with this old
But why
fleet?
has that quickly not happened, Prof? Because whenever Eskom management speaks, and when government speaks, the likes of the Minerals Minister, whenever they speak, they all say, you know, everything is being tried. Yes, we're fixing what's already broken, but also working to bring more units, or rather bring more power generation resources online. But it's very hard to sell that to a population that is at this point facing the possibility of stage 6 blackouts.
Yes, the challenge has been the policy uncertainty that was created around 2014, 2015, when we had to implement the integrated resource plan 2010. And some people started focusing more on the nuclear build, as opposed to implementing the integrated resource plan in its totality. You will recall that there was about 27 projects, IPP projects, that were delayed in terms of signing from the Eskom side of things, and that created a lot of uncertainty in the IPP space, and most IPPs didn't want to participate going forward. However, that has now changed. If you look at the way Minister Mantashe is implementing the IRP 2019 after it has been revised, he's implementing it quite well. The problem, and there's quite a number of other interventions that government has brought on board. The problem is that all those interventions, including the implementation of the IRP 2019, we will only see the fruits of that at a later stage. So what we need to be doing is to be looking at things such as bringing online quickly things such as battery storage, working on demand side management projects as quickly as possible so that we could then create virtual power stations. Looking at small-scale embedded generation at municipality level, people incentivizing people for putting solar panels on their roofs, for instance, so either through allowing them to use the grid as storage, then the project becomes cheaper,
Right.
and interventions such as that. So there's a need for immediate interventions while we're dealing with the old fleet that has been neglected.
Prof, very briefly, I know you've never been a fan of calls, you've never supported at least calls previously for the management of Eskom to be sacked over the failure to basically bring an end to load shedding, but should we get as high as stage 6, stage 8, possibly, they've not said 8 is where we're headed yet, should there be consequences for management?
I still don't think that it will be the right thing to do. I've listened to them talking this afternoon. They've given us quite a lot of information in terms of what is happening. That has never been happened before. I get a sense that they now understand the problem and they are dealing with it, and they are about to solve this particular problem. If we fire the current management, we will just make the matters worse, because the new management needs to come and take years, by the way, to try and understand this particular problem to an extent that they can be able to solve it. So I would say don't even begin to think about firing the current Eskom management.
All right, Professor Sampson Mamphweli, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.